Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody asks you why, I'm here to ask why not. So sit back and relax or walk and listen and join me on this journey as we try to answer this never-ending question: what makes people say, why not? Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So today I am joined by Mark Jason Fanning. So we have a few different potential descriptions of Mark: racing pundit, racing enthusiast, racing content creator. But I'm going to actually let Mark tell you all about himself. So welcome to the podcast, Mark. Thanks for coming on.
No problem, Chrissy. Cheers for having me on. Yeah, I suppose, do I even know myself what to call myself? No. I suppose racing enthusiast, and then having a whack at doing whatever I kind of put my hand to. But yeah, no, I put out a bit of content. Like I was involved with a lot of different things along the way, solo mainly at the minute. So yeah, I suppose racing enthusiast will go with it anyway.
I think they all do, because you do a lot of racing content. So I think it's like even acknowledging, even if you're just doing it for yourself, it is something you are doing. So let's start all the way back at the start. What got you into racing in the first place?
I suppose really I was probably somewhat brought up, not in racing, but we had ponies and stuff at home years ago, like when we were kids and stuff like. So was always involved with ponies and that, and my sister would have went to pony club. I was never good enough to go to pony club. But like, and then kind of involvement with true friends and that then as well, like, you know. So I hadn't really much of an involvement in racing until I was probably 13 or 14 itself. And I used to work with a guy on a farm on weekends and cutting lawns mainly, and then helping out in farm and stuff. And his mum owned the pub. So eventually then when I was like 16, that I used to help out in the pub a little bit. And then a few of the lads that used to come into the pubs were involved in racing, and I got involved with a bookie that used to be in the pub, and I started going off with him, doing little bits and pieces, helping him out, getting a little bit of cash on the side, going to school. It was great. I remember going racing one day. I was only like 13 or 14, and just hearing the noise, the ground was rock hard, like you could hear the noise of that, and just those little things get you into racing, I think, you know.
Yeah. Was it kind of a slow build then? You know, was it through the working with the bookies that you got into racing, or was there always like an interest there?
There was always an interest there. Like we would have went like Thurles, our local track. We would have been all kind of trying to ditch off school nearly to go down on a Thursday evening, maybe a class or two earlier, and not go back after lunch. Like, and there was a little spot in the ditch. We used to kind of, a few of the group of the lads, we used to be watching and stuff like that. But again, it was like everything. I think more so back in the day, everyone at home, like years ago when the big racing would be on Cheltenham, and that there was a lot more. I felt there was a lot more normal people that used to watch racing, if that makes sense. More, it was more of a thing. Obviously, there's so much sport on TV now, and that it's not just racing. But like I remember, you know, the Cheltenham Festival, everyone and anyone used to, like your grandmother. You go over to your grandmother who you'd never even knew what a horse's name was, and she'd have Cheltenham on her. So she'd be like, "Oh, Charity Swan is riding a horse here," and that, and you know, those names and that used to stick with you, you know. So that was kind of the thing, and then it's like my grandfather would have had a big passion for it. He would have been a farmer. He would have trained a few greyhounds like a lot of farmers did years ago. That was nearly that kind of a side of it, and I would have been involved at that end of it too. And I think it's all intertwined, really, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting you saying that about Cheltenham, because like I know nothing about racing. I hands up say like nothing. It's really funny because non-equestrians, when I say like I'm into horses, they're like, "Oh, you must know all about racing." I'm like, couldn't tell you a thing about it. But every year at Cheltenham, I'm like, okay, let's go. A few little bets, like solely picked on the name of the horses. But like, do you still feel like Cheltenham has that little magic and brings people in, or is it more just horsey people?
I see. I'd like to be outside the circle now to really answer that 100%, but I don't think so. I personally don't think it has the same appeal. I don't know for what. Is there too much there now? Is there too much? Is there too many different sports being shown? Is there too, you know, like everyone's into Formula One at the minute because of the drive to survive? You know, people are branching away. Whereas before, had they as much? Like there's more social media. I think now, like years ago, we had two stations, and then all of a sudden we got TV3, and that was huge. And then we had, TG Car, and then we had four stations like before the skies and all this, like, and I think maybe that has a factor to it too. But yeah, I, to answer that, I think I'd have to be back at like 12 years of age and coming from the outside. But I personally don't think it does. I don't think it has that draw. And I suppose working in the bookies, you can see that, down through the years, you can see the different, like it's still a great atmosphere during the week at Cheltenham, but compared to what it was with the different people coming in and out, you would see people you've never seen before. You're still seeing those type of people, but you're seeing less of them,
Okay. And like, so you still work in a bookies now. What is
Yeah.
that like?
It's different. It's different now. I suppose it's compared to when I started. Like, I started, as I said, I was working in the pub at 16, and that, like, stocking the shelves more so. Me and my brother used to go over, and the two of us used to work for that farmer, and his mum owned the pub. He was like our second dad, Pat. Like, they're not going to. I think everyone had that kind of a relationship with somebody in Ireland at some stage. But we would there was a guy that came back from England, and he was in the pub, and he used to do his few little things, and he used to be writing down his bets and that, like, from obviously people used to be. And then one evening he asked me to go to the Dogs in Kilkenny, and it kind of all snowballed from there. I was only like 16 at the time, and I started it was called running back in the day. Back in the day, the greyhound tracks used to be busy, and you'd have lads, you'd ever hear young fellas calling the prices. So if a bookie was like 3-1 and it went 2-1, you'd be saying 2-1 down the bottom, and that was your job. And then I progressed in to be a clerk. A clerk was somebody that used to write the bets down on a book. So you'd have, now it's computerized, you'd have a book, and you would literally have a list of, so just say, we'll just say dog racing rather than horses, because it's easier to explain. Dog racing is just 6 runners. So each one of those 6 runners, you'd have all your bets wrote down. So as the bookie's taking the bets, he'd say like 20 on 1 at 2-1. You'd be writing that down, trying to make up as you're going along how much each dog is going to cost you of a liability. So essentially, a clerk that you'd learn from would be trying to tell you how to nearly balance your book, that each run, like, if you lay bets on all 6 runners, that technically a bookie should make profit, and that it doesn't always work out that way, and they can take a lot more bets on certain amount of runners and that, and it kind of progressed from there. And then obviously when I was 18 and that, you can go to work for a firm then, which would be like Wild Sports, not where I know, or Paddy Powers, or likewise. So I actually worked with the tote for a bit at the Dogs and that, when I was still working kind of on farms and stuff. And then I worked for a company called Celtic, which was Ivan Yates, who essentially went into receivership. And then I went from there to Wild Sports, and I've been there ever since. But through Wild Sports, it's not just working in the shops. Like, I opened the new shops, I train in staff. We used to do a lot of takeovers. So I've been in the UK for them, up the north. I've been all over Ireland, and also trying to throw my hand at the PR side of it. So you'd often see some of my social media posts, and that I might be presenting a trophy at certain racetracks or the Greyhound Derby or something like that. So that was something I'm very much passionate with, is the PR side. It kind of intertwines with the social media and the whole content, really, content creation.
When did you decide that was something that you wanted to do?
I kind of always had in my head that I would love to either, I don't know, I'd say when I was 18 or 19, I always kind of had a passion for it. But I never let that out of the box, if that makes sense. I was kind of just going through, I was having too much fun when I was 18 and 19, and I had to really concentrate on it and like that. And you don't have the outlet source that you do have now. Like, so before you like, a phone, like, was, most of us at that age, and it's not that long ago. I'm not, and when you did have a phone, it was the Nokias, and then like these from the last 10 years.
I remember that time. I'm not old.
You remember kind of stealing my dad's, like, to play a snake on it or something, or make a ringtone. That was the be all and end all. And all of a sudden, then it just, like, I remember, like, me and 2 of my best friends, Billy Lee, who'd be one of the top Ireland jockeys, and Mickey Clear, who was an apprentice at the time. The 3 of us were the best of friends. Like, we used to go to Clonmel, down to the internet cafe. It sounds nuts now. Like, it wasn't that long ago, like maybe 15, 16, 17 years ago. We used to go down to a place in Clonmel called Circles, because we'd go down and have a few games of pool and that. And Mickey had always wanted to update his Bebo page. Like,
Oh, Bebo.
Good old Bebo, yeah. So, but now you can pick up the phone, you can literally, even if you have no followers, you can just send whatever you want out, and it can get received by one person, 0 persons, or a million people. Like, so it's a different time now, you know.
Yeah, it's wild the change. Like, so I actually did media in college. Now I graduated from college 12 years ago. But I did media, right? And I graduated in 2013, and Instagram was launched in 2011. So like, I do loads of stuff on TikTok. TikTok didn't even exist when I went to college. And it's just mad to think like these massive platforms exist now in comparison to when like that, like going down to an internet cafe to update your Bebo. Sorry for anyone who doesn't know what Bebo is.
the
It was like
the older version of Facebook. I was actually
Yeah.
chatting to 2 of the lads, and I was telling you I was just down the gym before I came up here, and I was just like, when the boys were trying to find somebody on Facebook, I said, "You'll find them on Facebook, you know." And they were like, "Geez, you 1.7 100 follower or friends on Facebook." And I goes, "You have to remember, lads, that Facebook is our Instagram, but like Bebo was today's children's Facebook back then. Like, it was the original. Like,
Yeah. Remember top 16?
now it's not even heard of."
Yeah, no, they relaunched it again recently, I think.
Yeah, I think that the crowd that sold it for whatever amount of million bought it back for like on very, very, very cheap. But I don't know. I just think people progress now, and it's like even Nokia can't get back into that smartphone really situation now, can they?
They've slightly missed the boat. Yeah, the problem was they made them not breakable.
Yeah, and it's just like brands have a thing, haven't they? Like, so like everyone wants an iPhone or a Samsung now, or Android somewhat, you know.
Yeah, no, that's true. So I suppose, actually, speaking of brands, you're kind of building a brand, doing your own thing. How do you find creating content for Instagram?
Okay, so I probably should do a bit more on my off days of how to edit, how to upload, how to not make it look flashier. I kind of record stuff and fire it up, and sometimes it gets good responses, great responses, but I think I could do a lot more. So we'll go back to when I started first doing content, and that it was through like I used to do a weekly show on the radio, a local radio station. So I used to preview and review the racing and stuff for the week ahead and the week. So it used to be on a Monday. So you'd review the weekend, and then you'd preview the week's action along with the weekend. So it was good that way, and it got me into it. I done that for a couple of years, but along then I started to you build on that, and I used to do my own videos on YouTube. But then if you stop, it's very hard to start again. And you'd say it's kind of like everything in life. Like, you'll say, "I'll do it." Like, there's actually a horse named after me called Starting Monday. Again, my best friend Billy Lee, whose sister trains it, like, he told me, "That horse named after you." It turned out it actually won on the Monday, and I never backed it. But
Oh, no.
I was a big, I like, especially dieting, that you've seen my fitness journey over the last few months, and like, a year. And I was big with a start on the Monday. But I'm a firm distant not believer in it now, because I think if you're going to do something, just do it.
Oh, yeah. Because, Monday will come around and something will come up, and you'll be like, oh, nope, that's another week now.
Yeah.
I really believe that as well. Like, I'm simultaneously a person of like, I'll keep going. I'll take a day off. I need to take a day off. But I'm not like letting it roll, because you let it roll, it's so much harder to get back on it. And I know you're saying like you could do with editing more, but the more you get up unedited, it's going to reach more people than the stuff you never do because you didn't edit.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, to be fair, like I'm gonna go. I missed last weekend and stuff, so now that I'm back, kind of doing content and that, and sometimes James Brennan joins me. You interviewed James before,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to come up with something that, like, I do. I'm gonna. There's a lot of stuff I do is solo, but I'm starting to bring in people now, which is helping. But also, I need to be able to just, if no one's around to jump on, I'm just going to fire it up myself. And I see you even put out your weekly podcast. Is it this quite weekly? You've done your solo one this week. You've done your podcast this week as a solo one. rather than having, I don't know, had you not someone to interview with that, but you, instead of not just putting nothing up, you just fired up one yourself, which I listened to, not at all, but a lot of it, and it's very, very good. But I think you just have to just do it, but as you said, and keep building, and volume and builds and traffic builds, and then, but when you fall off it, then you have to start all over again. Like, so I think you just keep doing what you have to do, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. See, the way I run it is I normally do 3 new episodes and then 1 refresh episode every 4 weeks. Just be like, hey, remember this one. And I actually, it's not that I didn't have anyone to interview. I actually did want to do a solo episode. I actually don't like doing solo episodes, so I have to talk to myself. But sometimes it is that case of I have no interview this week. I have to get on and talk, and you just have to come and figure something out, and hopefully people will resonate with you. And if they don't, they don't. It's fine. But like I said, it's keeping that momentum, keeping it going, because I committed to it. And that's the thing, really. I think a lot of people are missing is committing to something and keeping consistent.
Consistency is key. Like, no matter what you're doing, I think, just even if it's like, I don't want to get pushing on much, but the fitness, like, if you just keep walking, you know, if you do 2 steps today, you can do 3 tomorrow, or you can do the same. You know, you build it, and if you just keep doing it, and it's like everything in life. I feel like if you just keep on trucking, really, and fire out what you can, and just do what you need to do, you will build, and you will want to do more, and then you want it, and then you can see the parts where you can improve yourself, you know, and you get feedback. You get the good stuff, you get the bad stuff, but not the bad stuff. You can get constructive feedback, which is, you know, telling you what you need to do, and that, which of people that want to tell you will put it across in a nicer way than somebody that's going to be just with a no profile picture, just saying this is shite or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so again, it's about, but again, the vulnerability of putting yourself out there at times people don't realize, you know.
Yeah, it's hard. And like sometimes you do put things off because, you know, you're putting yourself out there. Have you gotten much in the way of like negative feedback from your
No,
content?
I'm actually, to be fair, I've been fairly good. But it's like everything. And I always say to anyone, because some people, John, a lot of people come and we'll have a chat, whatever, and I'm open to anyone wanting to talk and that. And I said that I remember there was a girl doing something that she was going to putting stuff up online about. She was doing a challenge, you know. And I goes, right, I'm going to tell you before you start now that if you get 1,000 good comments, you know, someone is saying something to you, you can't let that 1 or 2 negative ones that will come up affect you. And it's a lot easier for me to say that because I know I'm a victim of it too. Like, you can read 1,000 nice comments. I'm not saying you would get 1,000, and you get that one nasty comment from somebody that has no relevance. And what I would say to anyone like that is, and it's my mentality, and it is a lot harder sometimes to do it. Sometimes you can be a bit overwhelmed with stuff on certain things on the day, and stuff can get to you. And you can, if somebody's opinion doesn't matter in your life, then it shouldn't matter what they say to you, you know. Now, and anybody that's going to, even if somebody has something negative to say, but a constructive way, and if they really care about what you're doing, they will come to you and say it, you know, or they'll come and say, you should do this more. I notice myself when I say certain words, I used to say like a lot or something like that. But when you listen back to it, and you'll improve off that, like, because no one is from where they start. So I even see some of the stuff now from where I started from. It's completely different, and it's not an overnight change, just gradual steps. And it's not you changing, it's just progressing and getting better and learning and refining and stuff. That's the way I see it, anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. And it is true. Like I'm the same. You see those comments, those like 1 or 2 bad comments. And first you go, like, initially it hits you. And like I've had like reactions to them before, but now like it's like that thing. It's like you get used to practicing things, you know, you get stronger, you get fitter. You see something like that and you're just like, oh yeah, that's going to help my algorithm now. Because, you know, it's going to do, it's going to push that video to more people because people are commenting on it. When you can reframe it like that and just be like, that's fucking gobshite. Like they're not doing anything. Now, and it's the same thing, you can get constructive criticism. I put something up a couple of weeks ago, and someone I know who I would like quite respect rang me up and went, Chrissy, stop being lazy with your content. That's not relevant anymore. Why are you posting it? And I was like, I was being lazy. I knew I was being lazy, and he just called me out on it. Do you know what I mean?
That's
like,
brilliant. Yeah. but that's the kind of difference of like, I don't want to say it is that was a negative way, but it wasn't positive, but it was somebody coming to you saying, do it this way, and they said it to you outside of the box rather than
Yeah, they did
public.
Privately. They rang me and said,
Yeah.
your content has been classed recently.
Yeah.
Stop it. Don't let it fall back. Don't be lazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, no, you're right. And I knew I was being lazy because I just wasn't bothered coming up with something. So I was like, I had something in the tank that I could just reuse.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of thing. That's fine. If someone has actual proper constructive criticism for you, they won't comment on you and call you shite. Do you know what I mean? They'll talk to you and they'll give you a reason.
100%. And those are the people you need in your life.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I've gone on the mind frame the last while. Like every time I see anyone doing well, I'm just like, go, you do you. And I'm like we're like cheering on people all the time, and I'm just like, you know what? You're putting yourself out there. You're doing something that like loads of people won't do. So why would you be negative?
But that's exactly it. And I even see people now that are out running, and before I might look at them when I was like 13 or 14, be like, flappy like, But now if I see somebody out even trying to crawl up the road, fair play to you, like, you're out there, you're doing more than the person that's sitting in their car looking at you and saying you're shite, that kind of way. Same with being at home, or same putting out content, like you're doing it, you're putting yourself out there. The person that's being negative to you, what are they doing? They're taking time out of their day to talk about negatively to you. So they really have either low self-esteem or they're just not good people.
They're never,
and they're not going to be the people that you want in your life. So I wouldn't listen to those people. And that goes for anyone that's listening to this, that's putting out anything out there. That if anyone comes and says anything negative that has no impact in your life, to say it in a way, don't even bother with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that was something you had to build over time?
No, I have a thick neck. I was actually not. To be fair, in the last couple of years, I probably a bit more. I'd let it bother me a bit more, but I've kind of gone back full circle now of just like getting a little bit more confidence back, where I'm just like, it's fine. I know what I'm doing, as in I know what I'm putting out, and I know what the message I'm trying to put across. If you want to pick it up that way, or if you want to do this, that, and the other, it's fine.
I think that's massively important as well, because you know what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve, and when you have that like set vision, you're not going to let anyone distract you.
That's the problem. That's not the problem, but that is exactly it. When you have that vision, it's tunnel vision. You want to get somewhere, and if you put your mind to it, you will get it. And it might take a bit of time. It could be frustrating. Just keep doing what you're doing, and if it's meant to be, it will work out. Somewhere along the line, something will happen. You'll get a little break here, there, and everywhere, or here or there, and you'll get a little stepping stone and take it in if you can.
Absolutely. And I think, if you're not fully committed to what you're doing, or you're not like, there's something there's a reason you don't want to do it. You won't, like, you know what I mean? Or these things will affect you more. So maybe it's a self-belief issue. Maybe it's a fact that you don't actually want what you're doing, just thinking you should be doing it. Like there's a whole list of different things. But if you are being very affected by things like this, because theoretically, a stranger on the internet shouldn't be able to affect your mood. Now, look, we're human. It's very possible. It can happen, but maybe you have to like sit down and like ask yourself why it's affecting you so much.
100%. Yeah, I just think, it's a very good point. And again, I always bring it back, and I always say to anyone, if they don't affect your life, and if you wouldn't go after them for advice personally, then don't listen to the negative things they have to say. Because if you did, if you're actually able to follow those people's comment, if there was a platform there that you could see every comment that they wrote on people's different pages and posts, it's probably all negative. They're not going to come at you and write like I done a Cheltenham preview for the Irish Junior Jockeys Fund. It was my first ever solo. It was actually my only solo one. I'm actually going to try and do a big one again next year. I've done 2 this year, but they were 4 people, if that makes sense. I was asked to do them, whereas this one I organised it through myself, like we formed a committee, and that it was for the Irish Junior Jockeys Fund. So I had Joseph Ryan and JJ Slevin on it. It was about 5 years ago. And we raised, I think, I actually found a letter the other day. I must put it up because I actually did not even know I had it, from the Irish Junior Jockeys Fund. I think it was over €3,000. So it was in a pub in Douala, but it was in the hall. And like somebody took the time out to write. I think it's the comment is still there. It's on my YouTube channel. It was like we got like 10,000 views or something, or 7,000 or 8,000 views, and it was like, something on the lines of, where did you get the tablecloth off, from your grandmother or something like. But they they miss like, so we done a Cheltenham preview. We had two of the biggest, like one of the biggest trainers in the country, and then JJ7, who's gone on to achieve great things since that, who was building at the time. There was a couple of other people on the panel. We put our content out there. We put, like, it was about an hour and 20. It was a live one, but I got recorded. It was about an hour and a half long. We raised a lot of money for a very good cause. Whether they didn't even come at us saying your tips were shite, or nothing about racing. It was just like, where'd you get the tablecloth? Was it from your grandmother's? And like, so that kind of is the stuff where I look back on and be like, right, you can't let anyone talk to you, because if they're going to go out, like, or bother you in that sense, because if they're going to go out your way for that, like that person could have wrote equally as shite of a comment about the content we put out, but he didn't. He just wanted to put something negative up there,
Yeah.
So just like, I just laughed at it.
That one's fantastic, because that's really just dragging the ball of the barrel. Like, I'm like, I need to say something bad, but I have nothing. Your brownies.
I actually forgot about that until we started talking there now, and it just popped in my head. It's actually, if you check out my YouTube channel, that's a sick way to you'll see the comment is still there.
Everyone go to the YouTube channel, just see the comment. You can get loads of views in that video, and it'll be great.
Yeah. And
you can thank your man for opening all your views.
Yeah. MJF Racing, I think, is the name of my YouTube channel.
That's we'll get to make sure we have all your social links at the end. So going forward now, have you any plans for the year on what you're going to do with your content creation, what you're going to do with your channel? Like, have you any big, like, race meetings coming up that you want to focus on, or?
Yeah, so I fell off my wagon there. I was in, like, content creating wagon for a good year or two or more. Like, I was in probably not the best physical shape, mental capacity of my time, so I was just throwing myself at my normal job. I call it my normal job, my job, and just working away. And then I stopped, but I was also in the process of building a house, so I kind of let that take over too. So now I was saying there, one of the days, like, I've moved in, but it's like a building site, but we'll get there. But I want to set up a little mini studio in one of the rooms in it, that I can just go in and just have a nice little setup and be able to do kind of content like this, bit of a backdrop and stuff like that, and be able to even bring somebody in or record up like that. I started doing videos at the tracks, little mini previews and that. I was in Cheltenham for the very first time, actually. It's mad to say, this year. I done a live preview on the day and a review on the day on a whim, and I done one at the Curragh on Sunday as well. And I go to a lot of race meetings, because obviously I like racing, but also my friends are jockeys and stuff, so I kind of go and support them as well. So why not use that time now of putting myself out there for that? So what I like to achieve this year. So last year, you've seen my journey. Like, I've concentrated on getting my physical back up, and that helps your mental too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all intertwined, and you hear that a lot, but it is, like, it does happen, whether you don't even realize it happens. But, like, your energy is not just your body energy, it's your mental energy. So, and I don't want to come across as some hippie, because I'm not. Like, I'm for, I just, like, you just have to do these things for yourself. And I'm very good at giving people advice, and if anyone comes to me, I give them advice. And that's not me trying to proclaim myself as anything like, some sort of a martyr. But those are the type of people that are very hard to take their own advice.
Yeah, I get you.
And as I said to one of my friends there not too long ago, sometimes in life you have to be a bit selfish to yourself in order to be selfless down the line. So you have to look after yourself, and you have to just be willing to go for what you want to go for. So now, right, I'm after getting off track. So my goals this year are definitely get back to put myself out there. You'll see in the last few weeks and months, I have been putting videos up again. I've been trying to record stuff. I've done a little bit of the tracks, but over the next few weeks and months, it's going to be more continuous. Try and build it. I'm going to try and maybe even set up maybe a 2 week a week kind of show, maybe of doing a preview, review, not just of race, and just in general topics of racing and horses and horse racing, like news and that, like, and more of a natural feel to it, rather than just the mainstream media. More like, this is why people tune into your podcast. It's more kind of down to earth, natural than, and it comes across like those people relate to like the ordinary people. We are the ordinary people, and people relate to that kind of stuff rather than out of the stratosphere content. So
there's a big difference, I think, than an RTE report saying this race meeting was on and this horse won versus someone who's actually passionate about it.
Yeah.
And that's why I like seeing the likes of you, I like seeing the likes of James, because you're talking about it from someone who really loves that. And it's not just about, the stats and statistics are there, but you guys can you talk about them. Do you know what I mean? You're you understand that they're a lot of people outside of the equestrian industry and racing in particular. I think racing probably has the worst rap, even probably because it's most famous as well. But they don't realize how much people actually care about the horses. They're not just the, money making thing. Yes, they're worth a hell of a lot of money, but if you go and go to a yard, you'll see the grooms, or even before and after races, you see just how much love they have for the horses. So when you have people who are involved in the industry and enjoy it and they're reporting on it, you get that energy too.
Yeah, but anyone that's involved in racing that gets to the pinnacle, and I see even, I don't want to bring it back to sometimes you can be a bit biased towards your friends, but you have to care about the animal and or the horse or whatever it is. You have to care about the sport. You have otherwise, number one, you won't last in it. Number two, people will just they won't have anything really to do with you because But again, there was a good thing I seen a few weeks ago, a month ago. I must get the names. There was the animal rights, some of these activists going around, protesting against racing. But one of the people that were in that, and I've known, I never tell anyone what to believe. I believe that everyone's belief is their own belief, whether it's personal, religion, whatever. I think everyone has their own beliefs, and if anybody wants to believe in something to make their life, to where they want to be, 100%. But there was one of these people, I think it was a woman that was involved in one of the protests, and she went to one of those, one of those open, it was in the UK, the way the trainers do the open days where they invite people around. She actually seen the different side of it and how much they care about it. She ended up buying into a share of a horse.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that's mad. So it does, if you see what goes on day to day rather than what sometimes is portrayed in the media, you'll see that, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the 100% is perfect, but 99% of the time, people want to do the right thing by the sport and by whoever's involved in it, whether it be jockeys, trainers, or horses.
I think as well, it doesn't make headlines to show a groom treating a horse better than themselves, but that one instance, because they do happen there, and I'm not any of those instances where horses are ill-treated, it's wrong. I'm not making excuses for any of them, but they make better headlines.
Oh, 100%. Bad news. What was that always saying? Bad news always travels fast. And
yeah, it's 13 people. You'll tell 13 people bad news, but good news you'll tell one, or something like that.
Seldom good news seldom travels, or something like that. Anyway, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's yeah.
Do you find many people who are around you, not necessarily online, who have a wrong idea of the racing industry?
On my content, not so much, because I suppose my content is more it's a lot of people that are friends with me that share it out or view it. So, but you would see some of the stuff that goes up, I'm not going to name certain subjects lately, but there was some tragic, sad stuff that went on, and people were just totally out of context of what was being written, and more the stuff they were writing was just shocking, just in order to get their points across about animal cruelty, which had nothing got to do with the situation at all. So I do think sometimes it's just, come on, lads, wake up and just we can be normal here, have a conversation. If there's bad stuff going on, let's find out what is happening, and that law was, but sometimes people just want to be nasty, and that's till the end that they're being good, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think as well, they want to have a cause. They want to feel like they're relevant by, championing these things. But I don't think I've ever met someone who calls any form of the equine, not necessarily racing, any of them calls it cruelty. I don't think I've seen any of them have ever spent any time with horses. or
No,
around
no.
horses or around people who were involved with horses. And if they did do that, they might actually realize things are a bit different.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like all those things need to be there and in place. You know, all the protection, the welfare, and all that. Like, but it's just you can't just shout one side of the story without seeing the other side of the story. You know.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone who is involved with like horses doesn't admit that there are bad people who have treated animals badly.
But there's bad people on every side of life. You know, there's bad like. I'm sure there's bad people in body sports, you know, but there, you know, there is, and it's just like you can't go that 0.1% of that 1% shouldn't outweigh the 99%, you know, and sometimes it just portrays it that way, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And but again, like it's that 0.1% that makes all the headlines because sell papers.
And don't get me wrong, because that 0.1% shouldn't even be there. But as you said, like in every aspect of life, there is that.
Yeah, no, I'm very trying to make the point that like just because they exist doesn't mean we are just like, oh, it's fine. They're going to happen. Like we don't want them there.
No,
but,
and they get ostracized most of the time, you know.
Yeah, nobody will talk to people like that after something like that.
Yeah, but like that's another thing. Like the content I want to start putting out there is the positive side of it. I know it's not always, but that's what I always try and do. Like, and it's nearly something that I want to do. If I do set up something weekly, is you know, pick out a positive story every week. Whether it's a young fella riding his first winner, a trainer trained their first winner, a horse winning for a race that has never won a race, you know, something like that. It's not just the train or the jockey. The horses can be involved too, but that's something I want to kind of want to do as well. Just positive side of it rather than just, and that's not me saying, you know, oh, there's only positives in racing, but let's just like sometimes news. I don't watch Irish news because it's just always bad news, like. You know?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, it's nice to show the positive side. Like, that's one thing. Like, I've been to a few race meetings with, like, when I've gone up with the grassroots set. Like, and I said, I know nothing about horse racing. What I do know is I can see the love and attention that the grooms and the jockeys and, you know, and even when they're being interviewed after, like, they're never talking about how well they rode. They're always talking about how great the horse is. And you can just see it. Like, you know, it is a. And I love seeing people bring that side out because all people see is big money making horses commodity industry. Do you know what I mean? You want to see that side of it too.
If anybody's listening to this, if anyone has wants to see any good story in racing, look up the YouTube video Cody's Wish, that horse that won the Breeders' Cup a couple of years ago. I followed the horse before he won in the Breeders' Cup. So I don't want to give the story away, but there was he since passed away and he had a lot of issues, but there was an open day at one of the Godolphin farms in America. It was an American race. And that if you're not an emotional person, watch that. Look up Cody's Wish Breeders' Cup and you'll see a good story in racing and how horses can affect people that have nothing got to do with racing in such a positive way. And there is a connection. Like horses have always been an emotional connection, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I think a lot of horsey people would prefer to be around horses than humans most of the time.
Yeah, true.
So actually as well, you mentioned going to Cheltenham for the first time. Now, like that is, I'm sure everyone knows, it's like Mecca for horse racing. It is the big one. Like obviously there are like, you know, you've got Aintree, you've got like Punchestown, you've got like big ones here, but like for me anyway, Cheltenham's the big one. What was it like getting to go there for the first time?
Crazy. It was like I've been to meetings in America, every meeting in Ireland, you know. I've been to a lot of big racing in the UK, but I've never been to Cheltenham because I was always so busy with work, even though I work in the industry. It's crazy to think that I haven't been there. This year I was like, right, I'm going. So I took the Tuesday off work, flew over the Tuesday morning, flew back to Tuesday night. It was like a 23-hour round trip, right? But I'm a pioneer, I don't drink alcohol, so it doesn't affect me. One of the lads came with me. Actually, James was on about coming, but he couldn't get to go in the end. So I'm calling him out on that for next year. But I got to the track early and I wanted to see it rather before the crowd built because it was my first time there, obviously. And it's just, yeah, no, it's it's like a coliseum. Like, it's just like you walk in and it's just like you can see the whole track, the backdrops of the mountains in behind and stuff, and it's just it was electric. And of course, like, you had that very emotional winner, the first one, where it was the Michael Sullivan Supreme Novices, where Paul Townend won it. It was like a favour for Willie Mullins, and it was just that they played a video beforehand of Michael on the screen before it went up, and just the roar and the cheer, and so it was a very special and privileged day to be actually there for that day, and to see like the emotion. Like Paul, like I know Paul personally, like we would have came up together like two friends and that from when we were little, like, and to see him passing the line, and like he was from where Michael was from, like, to pass, and you see the emotion, and it's just, I suppose it was an extra special day that day. But yeah, no, Cheltenham itself.
Just for anyone who doesn't know, because that was a really big thing, and if anyone doesn't know, who is Michael Sullivan?
So Michael O'Sullivan, I was a jockey who sadly passed away due to injuries that he sustained at the track. I was actually in Thurles the same day the fall happened. So yeah, he was 24, I think, 23 or 4, and he passed away from the injuries he sustained in a fall. So, but it affected everyone big time, in the racing community. And there has been tragedies in the past. This one hit super hard for some reason, and like I remember leaving Thurles that day, and for a couple of weeks after, I was still like, it was just, I had a very somber feeling. I remember talking to James and a few other people about saying that if I wasn't penciled in to do some of the Cheltenham previews, I probably wouldn't have done them. And that was probably a bit selfish on me too, because you have to realize that life does go on and stuff, as sad as it is, and that Michael himself wouldn't want the racing community to stop. Like, but it was a very sad time in Irish racing, and he will be strongly and fondly remembered for.
I remember like all the things going up. It was just to obviously just to, for anyone who wasn't aware of it. It's one of those things that, like, it happens every so often across equestrian sports, and it just reminds you like how dangerous it is.
It's crazy, like, but how many sports have two ambulances following them around every day?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a very sad time, and it's just you've seen the emotion really come through in Cheltenham. And of course, both the horses he won at the Cheltenham Festival, he rode 2 horses one year on the same day, and both of them won on the same day this year as well. Not the same, on the same day they won. So the horse he won his very first race on, Marine National won, and I wasn't there. That was on the Thursday, but you could know, like, there is something, whoever believes in what, as I said, it all, people believe.
Yeah, no,
you have to. Yeah.
I agree. It's beautiful that they won, and it's beautiful, like, Paul Townend won that race. It's just all those kind of, I don't know, universe type moments, I think.
Yeah, that's, again, if anyone's listening, check out Cody's Wish. I'm telling you, that's definitely a bucket list. You should even watch that one when you're finished this.
I'm gonna probably end up crying or something, aren't I?
Yeah, bring the tissues, because if it nearly made me cry, I'm telling you, and I don't even know if I have tear ducts anymore.
That's class. Okay, so I think that is pretty much everything I have to ask you. However, I did warn you about this. There's one question I ask at the end of every podcast. So if you've been listening to my podcast, you'll know. But the question I always ask is, what is the best advice you've ever been given?
Oh, probably should have. I probably should have thought about this. The best advice I've ever been given. I'm not too sure, actually.
This gets people all the time. It's great, and this is why I asked the question.
But I'll tell you what I do. I bring it back and I give you the best advice I can give somebody.
Go on.
But I said it earlier on. If somebody's opinion doesn't affect your life personally, don't take their advice.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Now,
yeah, turn the tables. This is my podcast. You're not supposed to be taking charge here. Okay, so where can everybody find you before you go?
I suppose a lot of my names are Mark Jason 86, my Instagram, my TikTok. I don't even know what my name is on TikTok. My YouTube channel is MJF Racing. I'd like to say that. And I haven't set up on Spotify yet. I'm thinking I'm going to do that this year. But basically, if you follow my Instagram, Mark Jason 86, I'm going to put every link that you need in there.
That sounds brilliant. So check that out, guys. I'm gonna I'll put the links in the show notes anyway, so you don't have to try and search for 'em with your well prepared links. But as ever, guys, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok. So on Instagram, it is at Strong in the Saddle with an underscore at the end because someone beat me to it, the name. And then on TikTok, it's at Strong in the Saddle with the underscore because I got there first. And my website is www.chrissyhawkins.com. So I just want to say thanks for joining us today, Mark. It was a really good chat.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, Chrissy.
Stop the recording now.
I really do appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast. So if you please could help me with the algorithm and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And even, you know, if you want to reach out and suggest topics for me, I'd be delighted to hear from you. Drop me a DM on Instagram or TikTok. And thanks again for listening.